Welcome back to the Simple Farmhouse Life podcast. I promised in my last episode that I would do a Q&A with my husband Luke, and we recorded a Q&A for you, but it ended up being a I laugh until I cry session for about an hour and a half. It was super fun. My husband was in a mood of just like, I guess, just entertaining me. I was thinking about this, and it comes down to, I have been putting myself out there on the internet for about 5 years now. I sit in front of microphones and regularly talk to a camera that nobody is standing behind. I tried to remember back to when I first did that and just how awkward it is, and how it's hard to imagine that somebody on the other end of it actually cares unless you're the person who is putting this content out there, getting all of the feedback, and just used to that whole process. And if you don't believe me, I challenge you to go set up a camera and then just start talking to it and pretend that the people on the other end care. So I was thinking about that with this Q&A with Luke. I'm just throwing him into this world, and he is like, seriously, how do I take this seriously? How do I answer these questions in a serious way? So I edited it out a lot because I don't want anything that's just sarcastic and genuinely hilarious to come off wrong, especially when you all just don't know my husband that well. I'm including what I think is hopefully helpful to you, and just know that we had a really fun time with this, even though I'm not sure that I can keep a whole lot for you, but it was hilarious. And at the end, I handed him the phone and I just like, you just answer whatever questions you want to. And he was just spouting off all kinds of hilarious answers. To me, anyways, I find my husband hilarious, and I'm laughing daily from all that he says. He's just very clever and quick with his responses to things. He doesn't laugh or think it's funny. He's one of those types where I think everything he says is hilarious, and he's just sort of dry about it. But anyways, for what it's worth, here is a Q&A with my husband, Luke. This episode of the Simple Farmhouse Life podcast is sponsored by my new blogging success masterclass. Luke and I spend our days on our homestead documenting our life, showing projects like how to build a porch swing or making over a part of our house. We make our living day in and day out, side by side with each other and our 6 kids, and it has truly been life-changing for us to be able to earn our income in this way. I teach you in my new blogging success masterclass how you too can start a blog, earn money, and make it a profitable business venture. If any of you know my sister Laura from our oily house, her husband recently came home from his job too. I've had her on this podcast a few times, and we're actually going on a little girls trip this weekend. And so we're hoping to record a podcast on the drive if our babies don't scream the whole time. Anyways, she'll be back on shortly, but she followed my exact model about 2.5 to 3 years after I started it, and was able to bring her husband home in 2 years as well. And so that was just so encouraging to me to prove that it isn't a one-off situation where, yeah, sure, some people can make it in blogging, but it's very rare. My little sister did the exact same thing. She now is working side by side with her husband, documenting what they cook, what they're making, and with their 5 kids all at home, homeschooling. So make sure to check that out. You can find my new masterclass at bit.ly/farmhouse blogging school. That's bit.ly/farmhouse blogging school, all one word. My name is Lisa, mom of 6 and creator of the blog and YouTube channel Farmhouse on Boone. Join me as I share with you my love for creating a handmade home from scratch cooking, and a little mom and entrepreneur life along the way. Today I have my husband Luke with me. You can tell because he doesn't know that he's recording podcast episodes.
Sorry about that.
You all really seem to enjoy when he shows up, whether it be on video or podcasts. He's a hard man to get. He's usually got a full schedule.
Well, that's about to change tonight. You'll never want to hear me again.
He's going to make sure of it. So we're going to dive into some of these questions that I put out on Instagram. I promised last time I would do this. So here I am,
So?
delivering on my promise. All right, so the first one on the list is a good one for you because, well, you'll hear why. Favorite part about living in our great state of Missouri?
The recreation's really good. Mm-hmm. You know?
So we have something called float trips. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this, but other people from other states, I just always took for granted that they knew what that meant. We go on float trips in the summer.
I think they all know about it by now.
Okay. They really don't though.
I think it was like, people don't know about them like 3 years ago. Now they pretty much everybody
Enough
knows.
people have shamed them for
Everyone's
not.
always like, you don't know.
Well, we have some very beautiful rivers. We also have beautiful hiking. We went on a hike in a state park today. We plan to go on one tomorrow. And so just lots of beautiful outdoors here in Missouri. You don't really think of Missouri like that, but there are. How to stay in shape with all the potatoes and breads you cook. So again, hiking. It really helps with that.
I thought those were good for you.
Potatoes, well, they are, but people worry about their
Carbs.
People worry about their carb
carbs.
intake. I actually was asked just the other day by someone if I actually eat the bread I make.
Whenever there's any left over for you.
Yeah, I do eat the bread I make. I don't avoid it, but yeah, I guess I do have a lot of people to share it with.
There's enough eaters to
Yeah,
get rid of it all.
pretty much. Also, I don't work out because I don't have any good excuse. Luke, go ahead.
It's some big deal. I jog a few miles in the mornings. Like it's
He's basically
I don't do anything. But on the other hand, Luke
he basically
runs a marathon every day.
Okay, well,
That's how I act sometimes about it, though. I get back like, whew, that was a long block.
just going.
In the past, it was always splitting wood. That was my favorite.
You still
That's the best.
okay?
And it sounds the coolest for homestead stuff.
If given $100 and someone told you to spend it frivolously, what would you buy? I think I maybe know what you'd say. Probably some American-made jeans. Maybe that's not frivolous.
Previously, I'd probably buy like 3 pairs of some really nice running socks. Do you know, like putting new socks on, it just feels like wearing a cloud, you know?
Are there $33 running socks?
Probably. You can get ridiculous with anything.
With running gear?
Yeah.
All right, me personally, frivolously, I'd probably go out to dinner. Just out to dinner. That's right.
That's real lie.
All right, how do you decide on big purchases for the family? Does anyone have a final say?
It helps when you're both relatively frugal or extremely frugal.
Yes, it does.
But we just discuss it together.
Yeah, I don't know that we've ever
decide.
had a disagreement where one of us decided that the other one.
We've always kind of just talked about it.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever had a moment where one of us didn't want to spend on something. Well, that's not true. We never had a moment like that. With the house, it was something we weren't sure right away, but ultimately, nobody really had the final say. Because I don't think either of us would want to move forward with something if we knew the other one didn't want to do it. All right, how do you ask Luke to watch the kids? Like, look into your combo and how that goes. Usually just if there's something that I need to do with a few kids, I'll just be like, hey, do you have so-and-so?
It's kind of been a zone defense.
Yes.
It's taken a little while to get used to, but I think knowing each other's expectations.
That's really helped.
Because at first it's more of like an unspoken thing until expectations are put out, and then each other knows what the other wants, and you just are trying to be as helpful as possible. Yeah,
I think for a lot of marriages, it's the default that the wife has the kids, and I don't know that that's necessarily a wrong thing, but with us, I usually am the one I would say I'm the default. unless otherwise specified.
What, for kids? I mean, everything's... It's so
this
fluid.
point,
That's
yes,
the word for
that's
it.
true.
It's very, very fluid all the time.
Depending on the day, depending on the... But if we're
It sounds cheesy, but it was like the partnership thing.
It is. But I also feel like sometimes in early marriage, people get upset whenever the wife is like the default for the kids, because usually that is how it is. But I think I've come to just understand and appreciate that part about a woman. Like if we're at the same place, like let's say we're not working, we're both somewhere, like my parents, for example. Usually, like, you will take several kids and go on a long hike, but it would be if we were both there, and I would just assume I had the kids.
It's kind of funny. Like, dads don't babysit. That's just not cool. Like, you don't just, I'm just babysitting. No, because
they're your kids too.
They're my kid. But we're created differently. So,
yes.
So you have this.
Yes, I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all.
I'd rather be focused on a few kids.
Yes, I always have an awareness of full where everyone is.
Picture of everybody. And
yeah, so the way usually we'll work that out, like for example, last weekend at my parents' house, he took 4 of the 6 on a long hike. And then I just always know where everyone is. And whereas he was very focused on those kids, I always am like knowing who has who. And it's sort of the default. I think most moms experience that. Because like you said, it's just a mom thing. A lot of people ask, what do you guys do for a living? And I forget that I have a lot of new people who haven't followed along a while. So we do our blogging and YouTube full-time as our family's full-time income it'll be 3 years this coming May.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
No.
It's almost 3 years. Full-time. So this is what we do. We create projects for the blog. We document our family's lives. We share our homestead and projects around here. I was thinking back to last spring whenever we were building the picket fence and the arbor and the cottage. And for a while now, we've just kind of been inside doing a lot of cooking. But in the spring.
Tonight, it's like 50 degrees outside tonight. I was like, oh man.
I know.
I'm ready for spring.
I can't wait. What is something you hope to accomplish within your home in the next 5 years? I don't know if they mean like a home project or like bigger things.
I guess any goals I'd set would be more like where I want the kids to be, or
yeah, that's great.
Where I want their I'm picturing like all the kids just jiving and having a really fun time together, and
family,
like just being like a family team and just really enjoying each other and just being happy and helping the community somehow. And yeah,
that sounds good. And we're trying to accomplish that by spending a lot of time together. We're here all the time. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, homeschool, and then...
Oh man, 5 years seems like such an eternity away. Like a whole presidential
And not
term.
at the same time, though.
Yeah, we know from the past that it goes by so fast.
5 years ago, I just had
ridiculous.
little newborn Jude.
Wow.
How do you transition from having 1 to 2 kids and more? Do you remember much about those transitions? Seems like forever ago. Ruth to Johanna?
Yeah, who were we just talking to? Somebody the other day that has 2 or 3 kids, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know how you."
I don't know. I have that conversation with people all the time, but I don't remember specifically recently.
It felt more stressful then, didn't it?
It did.
I mean, at times this is of course stressful too, but
yes,
it felt more like worried or something.
Yes, which makes you realize it's more about how you're feeling about it than the external circumstances, because clearly 6 kids is more stressful than 2, but it didn't feel that way at all. Like there's more going on with it. What?
I was trying to think of that Jim Gaffigan joke where he's
oh
like,
yeah, if you have
it's like you're drowning and then someone throws you a kid.
Yeah.
But that's not really true, Jim.
No, to me,
maybe for you it was.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's different on what transition they thought was hardest. I thought 0 to 1 for sure.
Yeah,
I'll always say that because it was
inexperienced. Like you've already got experience after you have a few.
I had no confidence, no experience. I just didn't know. I thought every little sound she was making as a newborn was bad.
We called in
I called the doctor all the time.
Doctor for advice.
I've literally never called the doctor for Daniel or Micah,
stuff.
and I called the doctor. Like, she's making this little noise, like, it's like, that's normal. So Laura and I have a running joke because she just had a newborn, my sister, in November, and my mom has said things a couple times like, oh, he's doing this with his lip, he's doing this. And then my sister said something, my other sister, and we always just say, it's normal, it's normal, it's normal. Because everything with newborns, they do weird stuff, you know.
But they all do the same weird stuff.
Yes, they all do the same weird stuff. They have the same like flaking skin and weird little breathing noises and quivering their lips like they're cold, but they're not.
They're confusing, those little newborns.
They really are. But once you've had a few, it's just
They're
like,
just
yeah.
normal.
And you learn that you can break all the supposed rules. So with my first, I thought I was messing her up, but I didn't have the perspective of having older kids to realize that they all get through certain phases and everything. So, but the way that you do it, because how do you transition? You just, you know, there's really only one way to learn something. That's my philosophy in life.
There's a reason that you have a 9-month gestation.
Yeah, to get used to it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm not a person who needs all the details before I try something either. So usually it's like, I know that I can learn so much more by just diving in. And when did you and Luke meet? We met when I was 19.
I believe it was in October of 2005.
5.
Best day of my life.
I was
Seriously.
I was 19 and he was 21-ish. No, you were 20, Luke.
Are you sure? Really?
Yep.
Was I really that young?
No. Yes.
Were we ever that young?
Yes, sorry. You were 21 and I was 19. I was about to be 20. Do you also admire old houses and antiques?
You know, yeah, I do. I always like form, or I always like function over form, but I mean...
You also do appreciate artistic things.
Yeah.
Maybe even more than the average male. In a good way.
Maybe. Maybe.
Do you sit down and do budgets together? We never have.
What has our deal, like once again, it's just like frugal?
Yeah, so
except for like...
our philosophy with money has always been no spending it unless you have it. And so it's just, we're very frugal by nature. You can go back to, hold on, this is a podcast episode that, okay, so it was episode 55. I shared money saving tips from a naturally frugal girl. So this is where I just talk about what things people who are naturally frugal do. And some people definitely have to make budgets and spreadsheets. That is not our personality type. It's never been, and it actually works for us despite what Dave Ramsey might tell you. And I do really like Dave Ramsey, but some people do just have natural frugality and don't need to plan out everything to make the budget work, or, you know,
I mean,
the lack of budget.
For us, it was really like whenever we became Christians and our perspective of what prosperity looked like through the world, and I think that's what really did it.
I also do think it has a lot to do with how you think about things, because when we were first married, I guess I did a little bit of work whenever I was pregnant with Ruthie, but then I always stayed home with her, and we weren't making a whole lot of money, but I never felt like we didn't have, like I never felt like
perspective,
poor
you're saying,
or
like,
anything.
Oh, of course. I mean,
I guess I just didn't want anything.
We were always well off as kids. We never like wanting as children.
True. But even once we were married though, and we didn't have like extra money to spend on things, I never felt like, oh, if only we just had all of this money, I could do all of these things. I mean, I obviously wanted to bring you home from your job, but I never felt like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I could just...
What is that one verse? Contentedness.
Godliness with contentedness is good. Oh my gosh. Godliness with contentment is great gain.
Yeah. That kind of is just like, you're like joyful with what you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you try to be appreciative. And
what are his thoughts on the blog being a business? We were always on the same page about the blog being a business. That is one thing I had. A lot of people come to me and ask, what do they do if their spouse doesn't want them to do a blog? I always had your support. You always wanted me to pursue the blog. We always had a goal of it being our family's full-time business.
I mean, I would say always.
No, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I had your support. We didn't necessarily think, oh, this is going to be a full-time business from the very beginning.
I mean, we had tried other businesses. You had, what, like other little businesses before. I don't know. I mean, I would support you in anything you did. And this just happened to really take off and do well.
Yeah.
And you enjoyed doing it.
But we pursued this as our full-time business with that intention together long before it was doing well.
Well, yeah.
Probably when it was, I mean, hardly making anything, we were like, we wanted to make it something.
Like we sat down and had that planning, like the first coffee date.
But I even think back to when you quit your job. It wasn't like it was just raking it in.
No, but see, that was another contentedness thing because we were able to be debt free. Mm-hmm. And so we weren't like bound to any job.
We were pretty free to,
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, obviously we always get this one a lot. I don't remember what we answered last time. Do you think you'll have more kiddos? I got that over and over again. And I think last time we did this podcast, I'm pretty sure we said, what did we say?
Well, we were like thinking no. We were.
I always think no when the baby's.
What's our problem?
I always think no when the baby's like 4 or 5 months old, and then once the baby's around 1, I'm thinking yes again. So debt. People want to hear about debt.
Well, the Bible says the debt is not to your advantage.
Right.
The borrower is slave to the lender. so it's best never to be in debt if you can be.
Right.
And if not, I mean, if you already are in debt, then there's no reason to hound yourself, but try your best. There's ways to get out, and it's worthy. It's a worthy cause to work towards.
Right. It's freedom. And there are some reasons to be in debt, but also don't let that be a pass, because I think there's very few reasons to be in debt. Favorite vacation you've taken together?
Oh man,
I think California.
Heads, California.
Yeah.
Tails, Carolina.
Tails, Carolina.
I don't.
Oh wait, heads.
Yes,
it's heads.
It definitely heads.
We haven't been to Carolina. We wanted to. We tried to go. In 2019, then the hurricane came.
The old hurricane.
Yes. So Luke and I went to California, north. We flew into San Francisco. We drove north up the coastal highway, Highway 1, I believe, 101, something like that. And
both.
It was pretty. We were by ourselves. I was pregnant with our 4th child. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Because obviously we always wanted to get into see the redwoods and
the redwoods.
That was pretty awesome.
And then another one that was notable was when Ruthie was a baby. We drove. We didn't want to spend much money on a vacation.
That was great. Yeah.
Actually, Michigan was probably our favorite.
We have a lot of favorites. We were so frugal.
We were so frugal. We didn't want to fly.
We didn't want to pay to get into the beach.
Yeah, that was bad. We should have done that.
That was pretty nice.
But we drove from our home here in Missouri up through upstate. No, first we went through Ohio. We stayed on the Great Lake there.
Yeah.
What was it? I forget which lake that is. Somebody knows it.
The great one. One of the great.
One of the great ones. We stayed on a campsite. We went through New York. We went to Niagara Falls. We went all the way over to the East Coast. We went through like 5-6 states. Back home through Pennsylvania.
That was really fun.
It was quite the trip. We did a lot of driving. We made salmon over our camp cook stove because we didn't want to go to restaurants. This was when we
that was hardcore.
Probably, I don't know how much we earned at that time, so there wasn't a whole lot of extra money, but we wanted to go on vacation.
And we had a great time.
We did. We camped in tents like, pretty much the whole time.
I remember we camped in a tent, and it was like, she would wake up,
Ruthie.
She would wake up so early.
Yes. Well,
she woke up at like,
well, yeah.
It was some like 5 o'clock.
No, it was like 3 in the morning
crowded,
because in the East Coast time.
Oh yeah,
To her, it was something like 4 or 5.
It was like a really, really crowded campground, and she's like, we better get up. But it worked out because we got to go see like the sunrise over the ocean. And so.
I don't think I was. It's funny how you look back on things though, because I don't think I was that appreciative of it at the time. I was pretty ticked that we had to wake up at like 3
our perspective was
it's
not
fun
so good.
It's fun thinking about though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sounds fun.
I think you swore off tent camping. Well,
no,
I think it took a few more years.
It took a few more years after about
with
3
with
kids.
young kids.
No. I swore off tent camping the time we went to the Back 40 Bluegrass Festival.
Oh yeah.
And it was May.
Cold.
No, it was May. It was Memorial Weekend. So therefore it should have been warm.
Should have been a red flag that we were the only tent there. Everyone else had RVs.
We had a 8-week-old baby because Eli was born in March. It was May, and I think it literally got down to 40 degrees overnight. It was cold.
Which is we just weren't prepared for. Yeah.
we with 8-week-old. Yeah. Okay. Was it love at first sight when you saw your current property?
For her, you.
It was for me.
It was.
Yes. I knew we had to have it.
For me, no.
He was harder to sell.
I don't really think that happens for me, but.
It never happens for him, and it always happens for me. So we've looked at, before we bought our first house on Boone Street, we looked at probably a stupid number of houses, our poor real estate agent. And I loved every single one. Loved them. I don't know. It
was almost a joke. Like, how much you like them, every single one.
And so I've fallen in love with a lot of places. And actually, I'd already fallen in love with a few places before this one. We put offers on 2 different properties. One I think had 15 acres. One had 5. Both had old houses. I loved them both. But looking back, this one was far and away the best option of all of them. But it took a while for me to get over the other couple. This one was definitely the best though.
Yeah.
I guess I can always see how I imagine it. And this was just
You get the visionary.
Yeah. This was just an old country house, and it didn't have any, it needed a lot of shining up, but I could see it. I remember we went down and we went on a jog after this, and I tried to convince you that we needed it. It was in the fall, and so it was pretty down here, like very pretty.
That's a little easier to sell in the fall.
We're like, we could live here. How does he feel about having 6 kids? He wishes we could return a few.
He wishes he could ask the questioner more in-depth,
more details about that question. I mean, what do you think? They're my children.
What are you trying to get at?
There was definitely some presumptuous questions in here where they were inferring, like they had the answer in the question for you.
I just want to know. So ask me again.
How do you feel about having 6 kids, Luke? How did she talk you into 6 kids?
I feel so blessed beyond measure, like undeserving, and just so thankful for them. And like, honestly, I've never felt more at peace or more at home or more thankful until you see your first child born. You can't expect how cool it is.
Yeah.
And the perspective. Yeah, whenever Ruthie was first born, just like, oh, like the just the immense love you have for your kid.
And also like lessons things, like what you know more than them that they don't know.
Oh yeah, like oh, you're so uncomfortable and you're screaming right now, but you know you don't understand that this is for your own good.
Yeah, I remember thinking that.
You have to be changed. You have to go through this pain of
uncomfortable that you don't want to do.
Yeah, you don't want to do it, but it's for your own good. Yeah, just the perspective, and just the beauty of sharing life with them. Yeah, like that is what it is. Like sharing, like the best parts of life that you found, like the things that you enjoy and the things that have brought you peace.
Yeah.
And sharing them with them and just being able to impart things and have them hopefully stand like head and shoulders above where you are or where you were able to come from.
Favorite thing about Homestead life? We're talking about how we really like the routine.
Homestead life, yeah. Well, from working at home, it's just like the peacefulness.
Yeah.
Just the easy, everyday, the routine.
Mm-hmm. Like you said, though, finding just common life, like putting your hand to what sustains people.
Yeah, just being able to go slow enough to just the old man some stuff.
Yes, yes.
Like to be able to like take a few minutes and look at some birds.
I have to tell the story.
Okay.
So the other day I was teasing Luke about how he's becoming an old man because he puts out bird seeds and watches birds. As I was telling him this, and I failed to look down and realize I was literally sewing a blanket. And then I was telling my son this story, and he said, "How dare you? I love watching birds too." So he didn't appreciate me making fun of you for that.
No.
How dare you?
I mean, in my defense, that was also for homeschool stuff.
I know, because it sits outside of the picture window and where we homeschool or where you homeschool, and all the birds come up, and yeah, it's a good part of homeschool. All right. A lot of people want to know how we work together. Do we have fights? Do we argue?
That's kind of a loaded question, isn't it? Everyone has everyone has those times, don't they?
Right. Yes. Yes, everybody has those times.
Them, but
I mean, I think it's good though. I think that some couples don't talk whenever their expectations aren't being met, and I've definitely done this before. I've learned over 13 years that if some expectation that I'm thinking about isn't being met, that I have to tell him, because he literally just doesn't know. And you can't do the girl thing where you're like, well, you should know.
I can't hear
because it doesn't help. It doesn't help. It just makes it worse. And so,
no, like just. I think going back to our relationship with God, because naturally you want to get your way and you want to, you want to think about yourself first.
Yeah, and you also think that, you're so great. And so everybody should be thinking about everything in the way that you're thinking about it. Like pridefully you think that other people see the world like you see it. And so if I see something...
That's just a lesson that marriage teaches you.
Yeah, I think that he should also see how it should be done.
To compromise.
But guess what? He doesn't, because he's different. Yeah, and sees everything differently than me.
Each have our own brain.
Yeah. And our own experiences, so...
Yeah. But yeah, it's a tool. Marriage is a tool.
Sanctifying.
A sanctifying tool, so...
Yes.
Yeah.
And so... I think we work really well together. I think that these last 3 years especially, I mean, just 13 years of marriage, kids, everything. I mean, we've grown together, and we've learned how we operate. And
yeah, but that kind of fast forward it whenever you're with each other.
I really fast forwarded it. Yeah, when we have to actually, we can't, we are together every day, all day. We have to move our goals forward together.
Just to have fun. I mean, you have to let each other know what you expect.
Or sometimes one party might have to reset their expectations too.
Probably you're resetting all the time.
Well, yeah, sometimes I have to be more realistic with what all we can accomplish with 6 kids and everything else. All right, we're just gonna do like 2 more. What did your husband first think when you said you're going to start a blog?
I don't know. I don't even know what a vlog was.
I already tried to start one when I was pregnant with Johanna.
Was that a different name? What was that one?
Brag Mama.
Right.
Remember I built that website on the
I remember that.
desktop and uploaded it to the internet?
Man, I need some serious reminiscing right now because...
Okay. I don't think I can handle the truth. What's your favorite and least favorite thing about each other?
My least favorite thing about you is people that ask those kind of questions that are involved with you. What?
How do you have the energy to do all that you do? Are there some days you want to do nada? That's nothing at all.
Nada? Was that a different language?
So, nada. There's never days where I just want to like sit around because it's just not my type, I guess you could say. But there are days when I want to go on like a family fun day, like tomorrow, where nothing at all involves hiking, antiques, coffee, and the like. And Luke's the same. I'll just go ahead and answer for you. You can just, you're done. You can go ahead and leave. Just kidding. Like a fun nada day for Luke is probably like burning wood, cutting down wood, going on a hike, watching birds, going on a run, paddling on the river. Yes, there are days when I don't want to do anything, but not sit around. I know I don't like to sit around.
Yeah, that's your personality. Just be productive.
Yeah, and my whole family is that way. So even whenever my family goes on vacation,
even recreation is
they don't go and do something where they sit. They go and ski or something like that. You might say we're high energy.
You could say that.
See if there's any more you want to answer.
All right. How many kids do you want? Susie Sugar Baker. I want them all. Budgeting tips. Don't buy nothing. What would you say to your newlywed selves if you could? That's a good one.
Answer it.
Invest in Amazon now. What is your #1 piece of advice if someone wants to buy a farm? I'd say walk the boundaries. Look at your neighbors. Maybe take some aerial photographs. What did your husband do before he came home to help you with your business?
I scraped dead animals off the road. It was really something noble. I miss it dearly.
Podcasting is fun. Did you ever have gender disappoint? If so, what did you do? We just had more. We just kept having them.
All right, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Simple Farmhouse Life podcast. Maybe I'll get Luke on again if I can convince him, even after I told him that this took way too long to edit, but it was just as funny the second time around as the first. I just sat at the computer with headphones on, dying laughing. So it was fun for me, if nothing else. Let me know. You can message me on Instagram and let me know if it was funny or just obnoxious. I really don't know. If you haven't already, be sure to check out my new blogging success masterclass. You can find that at bit.ly/farmhouse blogging school. As always, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next episode of the Simple Farmhouse Life podcast.